webinar. My name is Michael Tamer, and I'm very pleased that you're here. And we think we've got an interesting subject to discuss with you today. And that is the title of the message, which is Everybody Wins, the new reality of AI quality monitoring. And I think that you're going to find that our ability to be able to share with you is based on some credibility. We understand this market, and we certainly understand this particular component, which is quality monitoring. If you don't know who Proponency is, we're a SaaS-based platform. We've been around for a while, and we really focus in 4 key areas: voice of the customer, which is the measurement of customer experience; the subject we're going to talk about today, which is AI quality monitoring. And then training and engagement, which means that we put the entire package together. So once we understand what the customer thinks or what we think as a result of the measurement of quality, then where the rubber meets the road is integrating that information into your day-to-day operations. How do I take what I've learned from the customer, what we've learned through QM, and apply it to an individual, engage them, inform them, build the skills necessary so that they can not only solve the particular customer's issue, but repeatedly do that over and over again, and do that to scale where we've got roses, daisies, and weeds, all different types of people that are working in our organization. And so we're going to hopefully share some components of that. A little bit of background on me. I do have a podcast called the Contact Center Coach Podcast. If you want to know what I think or what we think about leadership in the contact center, there are 141 podcasts out there. There's over a full day of feedback on every area, every leadership area that you might find interesting. We think it's great for your supervisors, for managers, for leaders, for executives. And it's even great for people that are considering leadership in the contact center. And hopefully, if you've listened to it, I appreciate it. If you haven't listened to it, please go listen to one of the 141. If you hate that one, go listen to a second one, because there's another 140 that you can check out as well. Well, on to the subject today, which is quality monitoring. And I've had a pretty good lens into quality monitoring since I've been around since dinosaurs roamed the earth, and was there in the very early stages of the introduction of quality monitoring. Actually, the company that I led introduced the very first quality monitoring product to the marketplace in the early 90s. And this concept of being able to record and listen to 4 to 12 calls on a monthly basis for individuals, and then to be able to score them accordingly and then communicate that information back to the employees. I actually participated in and spoke before a Senate subcommittee on electronic monitoring and privacy in 1993, where we were focused on privacy and how do we protect the individuals that are being recorded, and how do we protect the companies as well, and certainly the consumer that was being recorded. And probably one of my best claims to fame is that I actually sat in on the FCC meeting with American Express at the time that approved the term "your call and be monitored for quality purposes." So I've got a great lens on the history of quality monitoring. I've written a book on it that you can find online, which is called The 4-Minute Customer, which talks about quality monitoring as well. And now we're into a whole new level of quality monitoring when it comes to AI. And so I want to make sure I give you some background on the numbers associated with it. I'm just going to focus on the very first one, which is kind of shocking. 88% of service leaders believe that their current QA processes are ineffective and rarely aligned with the customer's perspective on quality. And that's a pretty large number, since everyone, and I mean everyone, is committed to doing some form of quality monitoring. I'm sure you're listening today because that's something you do as well. And I think that what's occurring and what the potential is here is that we really do have a pretty big shift that's coming with the addition of AI. and AI into the contact center. And whether you're already experiencing it, you're considering experiencing it, or you're just using ChatGPT to give you a better sense or some different perspectives, and you're using it for writing emails or analyzing your data, whatever you're doing. But I want to make sure that we all look at this technology through the same lens that we should look at every technology associated with a contact center. And that is this lens of faster, better, cheaper. The reality is, if the technology that you're considering to invest in, or even the vendor that you're working with, isn't faster, better, cheaper, there's probably no reason to do that. And I am going to go back into my dinosaurs roaming the earth to show this as an example. And that is that if you go all the way back and look at the very first use of an IVR, which was this concept of, can we take calls from a live agent and apply them and put them off on technology? The very first application of this was for your bank balance, because people were calling in just to find out what their balance was in their bank, and they were waiting in queues for really long periods of time. And somebody brilliant, said, hey, listen, you know what? I think we could offload this to this IVR, which would be this electronic computer that could give them the answer. They can dial in and it would say, listen, if you want to get your bank balance, just press 1. And it would send them, they'd key in their data, and they would get their data. And at that time, it was faster, better, and cheaper. Their customers had an opportunity to make a decision to do that. Well, come forward 30 years. And today, at that time, people loved the IVR. They loved everything about it because it was helping them. And now people hate the IVR. Universally, they hate it. Certainly, they use it, but it's been forced on them now. All of a sudden, now we've said, well, how many things can I offload to my customers so I don't have to handle them myself? And that clicks the box for cheaper, but doesn't check the box for faster and better. I want to look at this technology through the lens of, is it faster, better, and cheaper for you, the company? And is it faster, better, cheaper for the customer as well? So the very first thing we have to look at when we look at quality monitoring is that there's going to be a paradigm shift that's going to occur. And that's evident in the fact that you're going to have to change your surveys. And you're going to have to change your surveys because we're moving from something that's subjective to something that's objective, which means that we've always looked through the lens of doing quality monitoring from a human standpoint, because we obviously had humans that were doing the evaluation. And so we were able to look at many different things like emotional intelligence and tone and everything. There was always things that we then graded ourselves. And whether we were looking at compliance, which was, did they perform something that they needed to perform, or was it a soft skills that we were looking at? It was always done through a human lens. Well, now with AI doesn't do human lens stuff. They do objective, which means it changes the way we look at things, and it's going to force us to change the way that we look at our scoring. So if we look back at the way we're doing it today, if you're doing it, which I guess now is defined as legacy subjective scoring, a great example of a score is, rate the agent's level of professionalism during the interaction. Well, we immediately look at, 5 different categories: unprofessional, somewhat professional, very professional, exceptionally professional. And if you've done any sort of this scoring, you know that the immediate thing that you need to do is that you need to calibrate, because you need to make sure that everybody understands what an unprofessional score looks like or what an exceptionally professional score looks like. And there are certain attributes that are associated with that. But because we have humans involved, we have to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And the way that we do that is we do that through some form of calibration. Well, when we do this, there's evaluator bias. We've constantly got to be looking at our standards. And while we've been achieving it for years and years and years, it's a little bit hard to quantify. So when we move to a machine, we immediately change the biggest complaints that we get when you talk to frontline representatives that have been working in this legacy environment. And the number one complaint, the number one excuse that you always hear is, you caught me on a bad day, What about the other 800 calls that I took this month? You only listened to 4 to 8 of them. You ignored the really great ones that I had. And we all know that since we've been doing this for a while, that if you're doing it in 4 to 8, you're probably doing it in 3 to 400. So you are getting good vision and you are getting some sort of perspective on the people that you're challenged by. But there is this crisis of confidence in the fact that you didn't catch the rest of them. We're missing a much bigger piece of the picture. And then also, George in QA clearly has it out for me, because we've got this people component in the equation that we're working in. And so when we move to AI-based objective scoring, we're still in the category of professionalism. We're still doing a lot of the things that were calibrated, but now we have a machine that's focused on exactly what they did. What are the examples of professionalism? Did they do these examples? Did the agent use thank you for calling and include the company name? Did the agent use all the skills that are necessary associated with professional etiquette, placing you on hold, or would you mind holding? Did they ask, is there anything else that I can help you with? Did they use some sort of cuss words or slang? There's so many different things that objectively the AI can look at and that are specifically measurable. They're actionable feedback. Hey, don't do this. And it's scalable because we then can get this type of response or this type of scoring across the board. And so this movement from subjective to objective opens up this huge door of information that allows us to see things in ways that we never thought possible. And it creates an environment that allows us to really create a opportunity where everybody wins, whether it's the front line, whether it's the supervisor leads, whether it's the executives, or whether it's the customers. It's an opportunity that rarely happens in a contact center where everyone can win. And what I want to do is I want to stop here now that I've talked to you a little about what it does, or at least we talked about objective and subjective. I want to show you some examples of how this technology actually works in a quality monitoring environment. And we're going to do this backwards. I normally would show you what the results are, which is what the wins are, right? Which was to set up what the benefits are before we get down into the granularity of how it works or how it was created. But because when we come back from this demonstration, I'm going to show you and walk through how everyone wins, I'm going to leave that to the back end. So I'm going to turn it over to Scott, who's going to walk you through a quick demonstration of how AI technology works, why it's different, what some of the components are of it, how we piece it together in obviously a very shortened version. But I want to get you a view of what it looks like, and then we'll come back to why does everyone win. So Scott, if you're ready, you can take it over.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen. And just to verify, you're seeing a page that says your logo objective scorecard. Is that showing up okay? I can see that. Okay, great. All right, so I just wanted to start with, what happens in Proponacy with the AI QA. And the first piece is obviously building a form. And Michael mentioned we have this methodology of using an objective model in the scorecards, and we can work with you to convert any existing QA that you're doing today into this method. And I just wanted to show you, in Proponacy, we'd be assisting, creating your scorecard for the AI, where you could, have a question. We can add artifacts in here for what, justifies the particular criteria, for a greeting as an example. And you can have different sections and point values for how you're scoring it and different weights for different sections. So there's a robust form builder within Proponacy that you would set up. And then we begin running that through the AI to allow it to do what Michael just described. So I'm going to go over now to kind of the back office component of Proponency, like where we have our APIs, and this would be where we'd be connecting into either your ACD or your call recording tool to either transcribe in real time or take a call that's been recorded and run it through the process. So I'm going to upload an audio file here and just let that run through a couple of components. This will be 3 different things that the AI will be doing in this analysis, and you'll see the example here. So I'm basically taking a call recording and sending it through our APIs, where it's taking the audio of the call, doing a transcription, separating the dialogue out here between the agent and the customer. So you'd have a full transcript of the actual call. And then another component that we're running is a summary. And this is an example of one that is in a format that one of our clients had requested, where they wanted sort of some details around it and what were the key customer issues, actions taken, follow-up, and next steps. So this summary piece, we actually push back right after it's completed to post the results in a way that our clients can then consume this as a note and add it in their CRM tool. There seems to be a shift now where a lot of organizations are having their agents try to make those account notes during the call after call work is sort of shrinking. And so now you've got the stress of making sure you're delivering great service along with, worrying about the notes that you're trying to multitask. And this ensures you've got accurate formatted notes being added to the account to sort of take that burden away from the agents. And then the other step that we've been talking about is where it's doing the evaluation. It's answering the questions that are in the form that I had just shown to you. And all of this then comes into Proponency, where you could see all the data. But you can see here, it's not only answering the questions, it's providing rationale that you could go back and see in the transcript that this is how it's justifying those scores. We also have a feature where we capture a reason code. I know a lot of times in organizations, there might be call codes or reason codes that the agent will log after the call, but on a busy day, everyone might be selecting, generic or something like that. And those codes can get maybe a little less reliable if you're trying to dig into what call types maybe are the most challenging or have the lowest, quality scores. But with this, we're doing a very accurate, tag for the call that'll show up in reason codes and reports, and then kind of an overall assessment here. So when I log into Proponency as a admin or a supervisor, I'll be able to see the AI evaluations for my team and how we're trending. You can set target goals for the evaluations. You can see all of those details. I'll show you a little bit more in a minute about what the agent would see. But we've got, scorecard reports that you'd be able to run. There's trend reports that you'd be able to run, all the analytics that you would need. You'd be able to see responses that are coming in. And let me change this to the one we were looking at. And here you can see the one I just submitted. And if I drill down into that, I can see the details for that assessment, who the agent was, the reason code listed here. I could download a transcript or the summary if I wanted to. And then I'm sort of seeing all the sections here. I could open these up and see the details for, the question itself, the answer, the evidence, and the point value. And you could expand all of those if you wanted to and go through all those details. So this is another way that we're gathering information from all of these responses that are coming in and Proponency is learning insight all the way down to the agent level, that what could be improved, what's working well, how to encourage them, and then to proactively take action to improve any of those challenges, which I'll show as I transition to an agent here. The last thing I want to show you, though, while we're looking at all of this data and we're able to identify individual performance opportunities and what's working great, we can roll that up to team levels, department levels, et cetera. But you could also look at things in Proponency from that data where we have what's called a service hub. And if I click into that, you can have Proponency, since we're evaluating, say, 100% of the calls, begin to identify based on, what is the length of these conversations, how's the AI scoring, what's the QA scores. We can find, what are simple calls that agents are easily handling and scoring well on, and then make recommendations for how you could potentially push that to maybe an AI voice agent or chat agent, or even within the IVR, maybe handle that call. You can have it, looking for other opportunities and just pick the ones that you want to monitor here. And I've just got those two selected at the moment. I'm going to push this, and while that's running, this also calculates what the savings would be if you were to move this call away from, the agents in the contact center to some other self-help or AI driven channel. And based on all of the transcripts and the evaluations, if you wanted to move this over, say, to a chatbot, Proponency can help, identify those call flows, give you a lot of details that you could just plug in to a chatbot to have it start handling this. And so this gives you all the details that you need, to move this call over. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and transition and log in as one of our test agents here. And let me just pull this tab over. So when an employee logs into Proponency, the first thing they see is this component here, which we call My Start. And this is our way of ensuring that agents get all the information they need, the encouragement, the recognition, the sort of challenges, the coaching opportunities, all within a quick and efficient slideshow almost format. And you can see here it says it takes 4 minutes. I'm showing one that has some other details in it that might not appear every day. Like, for example, you can conduct one-on-one coaching sessions in Proponency, and in those coaching sessions, you and your employee would see all of their KPI data, including details from the auto QA. But that might not be, you might not have that scheduling every day. But we just want to supercharge the agent in the most efficient way we can. A couple of other things to just briefly mention. We personalize this by learning the interests of agents. So, for example, if I go in to a profile here as Rachel, you can see those interests here. If I were to edit that, there's other interests. These can also be tailored and customized, to suit your organization. But I mention that because she's got this quote here from Venus Williams. She's a sports fan. And I'll also mention that she's a fan of the TV show The Office, so that may come into play. But let's go ahead and click Let's Do This. The first thing we're going to do is a recap of the KPI performance from the previous day. And this is related to maybe some call metrics here, handle time, ACD calls. It'll give some encouragement or mention if something's off target or below, a KPI. It's also going to look at streaks for things like perfect attendance or perfect quality monitoring, reviews, etc. or any other KPI. And here it's acknowledging she's got a current streak going of perfect attendance. And then if we're doing post-call surveys for you, you'd see a comment in here that we'll pull in from recent post-call surveys, something a customer said about Rachel. But when I continue, here's some of the details from her QA, which she can kind of see what she's doing well in, what maybe the focuses need to be for today, how the closing questions are going, and some tips in here to how improve those areas where she needs to improve. The other thing that's happening here is when we identify performance opportunities, Proponency can automatically send micro training to the agent, and that could be either training we created that you can use. We've got over 100 modules that you can use within Proponency to address those types of challenges and give them some training. You can also create your own training or use your own training that can automatically be sent when someone is struggling, maybe with the closing or with empathy or whatever the case may be. And then through My Start, we reinforce key learning points about that training, which I'll talk about here in a second when they show up. But you also can see news flashes you can create where if there's some kind of urgent message, we let agents know about that, set up sort of a change management feature, and they can acknowledge that, and you can track that and make sure people have seen it. Here's the message about the agenda for the one-on-one. We believe these should be collaborative, so that if I wanted to add something to the agenda, I want to cross-train in tech support, I could add that for my one-on-one. I'll also see any achievements that are being unlocked. So there's lots of gaming elements we do with the QA where, based on certain scores and perfect scores, you'll slowly unlock achievements, and it'll show you each step of the way until you finally complete that challenge. We'll also show any kind of milestones. This is one for CSAT scores on a survey, but this could also relate to QA as well. This is what I was mentioning where she has already been sent some training automatically about the warmth of her voice, the things related to being positive and how tone can help that. So in addition to sending that micro training, we also believe it's important to send these gift tips post-training to reinforce the learning. Most people forget almost 85% of what they've been taught 48 hours after receiving the training, unless you do some sort of reinforcement. So Proponency also does these coaching tips and customizes based on their interest to reinforce those key learning points so the actual behavior will change and the knowledge will transfer. They'll also see any shout outs and recognition from their peers or their supervisor, trainer. Here's one recognizing Rachel. And then another thing we do will also related to that same training concept and reinforcement from what we're evaluating in the QA, we might send some pop quizzes to help reinforce those key learning points via pop quiz. And so in this case, I can, select an answer here. I've done that, it's correct. And we also run pulse checks where you can kind of keep an engagement view of your team and understand what's going on within the team and compare that to their performance. So you could look at KPIs, including QA results, and then look at these engagement questions that we're asking in these pulse checks, which we believe there are 7 key questions to ask your team and be regularly updated on so that you can, not only address coaching opportunities, but also get employees more engaged, which also drives performance and improves performance. So once I'm done, that's all for today. It gives me some other details that I need to be aware of that's coming up. And when I hit submit, I can come back here and it'll take me back to my dashboard. I can see my KPIs. I could go over to the targets screen here and see, how my AI evaluations are going, and then drill down to those individual responses like I was showing here. So that's kind of it at a high level, just to kind of give you, again, a very high level of how it works within Proponency. And with that, Michael, I think I'll hand it back over to you.
Scott, would you stay on the line to make sure that you can hear me, correct?
Yes.
All right, and then I'm just trying to make sure that I get back to my screen and that you can see my screen as well.
Yep, perfect.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Hey, so listen, there is a chat component within this webinar, as there are in all of them. If there's something that I say that you want to have a further discussion on, or you've got a question on it, please go ahead and put it out in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer it live. Or if you want that to be something that we follow up on, we can do that as well. So I made a comment that I said that, what, everyone wins in this environment. And I want to see if I can prove it to you that everyone does win with AI quality. And it really does change things dramatically. And I'm going to run through these pretty quickly, but they're all significant, and hopefully they're all value. So there's a huge frontline win, and it starts with something as simple as confidence. The complaint of you only listen to 4 to 8 of them. The fact that we're now listening to all of them, and we now have 100% of the data, gives the frontline rep the knowledge that they know that they really are being coached by someone that can see everything. If you're a rose, you already know that you're doing really well. But if you're a weed, or there's an area that you're struggling in, knowing that the confidence that all of the information is there, that the information that you're getting is significant and accurate. You may not agree with it. You may still complain about it, but it is extremely accurate. The second thing is the speed at which now I know what happened yesterday. And in QM, we've never been able to do that before. I mean, maybe we listen to one call and you get the feedback the next day. Well, now I can get the feedback on the 50 or 60 calls that I had the day before. And when we talk about the supervisor, that ability to be able to get that information to them changes the dynamics of how we can actually coach, because we actually have more things to be coached on. And so the speed at which we get the information changes the world. And then we now can celebrate success, because we're driving for an engaged, informed, skilled, and loyal employee. That's what we want. And that success breeds more success. If you want to keep people around, the best way you keep people around is you make them successful. You give them an opportunity to be in a job for whatever the length of that season is that they're in that job with you, where they can have some success and they can celebrate that success, and they can be challenged and they can grow, and they can be engaged, and they can connect with their peers and connect with their leader and connect with the company and connect with the customer. It just creates a completely different environment, because now we have a really great understanding of what it is that's going on. And of course, they have an opportunity for coaching. Now I know when I'm coached, and when they're coached by our solution, creative different ways of doing that coaching, I now know that it represents the areas that I'm supposed to work on. But the everybody wins doesn't stop with the frontline agent, because the supervisor, the lead, has a huge win too. And the one that you hear often is will they know where to coach? I now know, because I know the data. I know the areas that they need to work on. And this is particularly important with roses, daisies, and weeds, which, if you've not listened to my past podcast on how to identify folks in your center, we use roses, daisies, and weeds. Obviously, roses are the best employee. Daisies are your average employee, which represents the vast majority of the people in your organization. And then, of course, you have the weeds. The issue we have is that with roses, we have a tendency to reward this group when you really want to challenge your roses. Roses need to be challenged. If I don't know what to coach a rose on, because they just seem to be perfect in everything, they have no challenge. They need to be challenged. With this new environment, I now have some areas to challenge them on, because I can see some areas, all the areas where they might be able to work on. Our daisies, we have a tendency to ignore the group, the daisies, because we're so focused on the roses and so focused on the weeds. But with our daisies, our daisies need to be rewarded. So this gives us an opportunity which represents 60% of your organization, to find different ways that we can engage them and encourage them and acknowledge things that they've done well, which transforms the way we do things. And then for our weeds, you probably already know the areas that your weeds need to work on, and just might not know the extent to which they're being weed-like. This gives you an opportunity to know what it is, and also to fix some areas that sometimes aren't large quantities but are significant. There's no better example than people that struggle with a certain type of call that, instead of it being an AHT of 11 minutes, ends up being 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and we miss those because we don't catch those. We're now going to be able to catch those and perhaps coach them on something that's not a large quantity, but is a huge time eater. And by helping them through those areas, we can dramatically improve their success. And this daily opportunity to celebrate success, what do we talk to these folks about? Well, it's hard to talk to them about a call that maybe happened, that maybe you don't get to for a week. But in this environment, because both the supervisor and the frontline rep are being given some sort of an update on what happened yesterday, you could talk about a particular call that the rep would remember when they did something spectacular, or something unique happened, or a client made some sort of a statement that was really encouraging. You have the ability to do that and to celebrate those successes, and then of course continue to get better. And then just confidence, more confidence. When I'm a supervisor or lead and I sit down and coach this person, I know that I've got data that I'm not going to get. Well, you caught me on a bad day. I now know that they've done this tens of times or hundreds of times, or this is the single biggest area of coaching opportunity that they have. But I'm also supremely confident that I've known what they've done really well. We showed you in that My Start that we measure streaks, huge to measure streaks. It's something that you can connect with somebody on a day-to-day basis. And I promise you, if you're doing any sort of measurement of customer experience, which we do for our clients, there are people that have had their 100,000th perfect score, or they've had 300 or 400 perfect CSAT scores in a row. The ability to have that kind of confidence with QM data, to be able to walk through them with it, just transforms the conversation that we had with them and allows us to pour into our employees and pour into their the potential that we have with them. For an executive, there are so many wins with AI quality. Customer insights. We talk a lot about the fact that we use QM to get a better understanding of our customers, to look for that bill that has an issue that we didn't know about, or a particular way or a process that we have that we might be better suited for. But with AI quality, we now have 100% view, and our AI can begin to look for those circumstances that create an environment of an area that we might be able to fix for the customers. I've always said that when I was younger, I made my dad close the closet door in my bedroom, and because I thought there were people in there, and so I had to have the closet door closed. And my dad made the comment, well, you must be, are you afraid of the dark? And I promise you, this closet thing happened when I was like 6 or 7 or 8. It didn't happen when I was 17. But the premise was, are you afraid of the dark? And I remember at a very young age saying to him, I'm not afraid of the dark, but I am afraid of what lurks in the dark. And one of the issues with QM has always been that we record, today we record all those calls. We record all of them, and we hold on to them, but we hold on to them because we're afraid something bad's going to happen, that we need to go back for a customer complaint, or there's some sort of validation, or we busted through some compliance that we were unaware of. And so we save that data forever. But now we're going to be able to have that data and put it to use, and customer insights is significant. The second huge win of AI quality is because we have a recording, because we have a transcription, because we have a way to now assess this data using AI, you have an opportunity to transform your agent to AI agent. Scott showed you the channel migration opportunities that are before us, and it's the one that everyone's talking about. But where do we go? How do we go? How do we ensure that we're going to do something that's faster, better, cheaper? that's really going to make it better for the customer. And, so who are going to be best at doing this? Well, certainly you're going to have this kind of a tool in place to be able to ascertain the areas that you can work on. But the people that are going to make this work, the companies that are going to make this work, are people that love their customers and love their employees. Because if we use those both as a forefront, then it's going to be very easy for us to transition to AI agents or offloading more calls, because one, we're going to know the ones we're going to do. We're going to set them up in an environment where they're successful. And then the people that stick around, the people that stay with us, because we're going to have less numbers over time. That's inevitable. We have less numbers now because of IVR. But what's going to be left over is a more sophisticated call, a more complicated call. So our ability to be able to take the data that we learn, to coach and train on the idiosyncrasies that are necessary to overcome the challenges that our customer have, to exceed their expectations, to delight them, to put the people that are on the phones in a position to be successful, is going to be the best solution that we have, so we can have this balance between smarter, more successful, more use of AI agents, IVR agents, conversant technology, whatever the term that you want to use, to find that balance to allow us to save money, but to do it in a faster, better way that's better for our employees, that's better for our customers as well. And AI is also going to enhance our employees. We're not even talking today about training, but we have AI training that allows you to get data into your employees' hands today that will allow them to get up to speed quicker, to be able to have resources that are listening in on their calls, that can see the things we need to do. And so we're looking to make that happen. And then finally, just across the board for an executive win, we're going to have agent improvement and measurement across the board, because we know what to coach them on, because we have the ability to connect that data to training and to coaching sessions and encouragement and gamification and all the different components. We create an environment where we become very, very successful across the board. And then finally, and I hate to make them last because that's not a good thing to do. I never want to make them last, but it's a huge win for the customers in many areas. First up is that their opinion really matters. Not that it doesn't matter today, but I think we've lost sight of, or not really taken advantage of, the potential of customer insight, especially in the contact center. Many of us have a tendency to relegate that to marketing, or we're doing a post-contact IVR where we're trying to just make sure that we're doing things okay, but we lose that data-rich opportunity that we have with customers. So once we don't have humans involved anymore, and now we have machines, that human-to-human contact becomes so much more important. So knowing what our customers think becomes so much more important. So their importance is going to become more valuable. The speed of their feedback, our ability to get that information into the company's hands, but to get that information into our agents' hands, to extra validate their successes or their words, because customer words change behavior. And we see that every day to day. Customer words change behavior. The vast majority of our clients have 5-fold, 10-fold the number of customer feedbacks than they do to quality monitoring feedback. So that data is really, really important. And then we're really going to be able to get a true calibration, because we may be doing all the right things, but we're not getting customer success. Why is that? Why did our employee do something really poorly or miss a compliance button, but they had such great soft skills that our customers still scored it well, which we want to celebrate. But now we also want to make sure that we dial into that compliance to make sure that we're catching that component where a rep that's getting stellar scores but is missing things. We can now create a great engagement scored employee, a great employee that does really well with skills, but not so well with compliance. And being able to match up what the customer says, the exact customer call, to a call that has been monitored, because we have 100% of them. That information is going to be so valuable to our organization. And then the customer wins are other things. They're going to have better talent answering the calls. I mean, is there any better answer than to our customers than having employees that are engaged, that they're skilled, that they're informed, answering the calls? Well, with more data, we can put that work to use. We're going to improve first call resolution. It is inevitable. A better informed, better coached, better trained employees going to deliver a better response. And especially since, because we have more data, we can celebrate more success with the rep. And I promise you, if we get into the business of finding somebody doing something right more often, you'll create more success, because that'll breed a desire to be more successful. And again, for whatever the length of season is that your employee is with you, why wouldn't you want them to be more successful? Why wouldn't you want to celebrate that success? Why wouldn't you want to reinforce that success? Why wouldn't you want to emphasize ways that they can learn to help them to be more professional, to be more successful in your organization? And of course, with that customer win, it creates an overall customer experience that allows us to be successful across the board. And so all of these pieces come together to create an environment where we've got an organization that's successful. This is the motto that we use in our company, and that's to help you build leaders who understand that people in the contact center need joy more than they need KPIs, a sense of purpose more than sophisticated monitoring, and a champion more than a supervisor. Joy, purpose, and a champion, words that you don't normally hear in a contact center. But when we create an environment that allows the people that are working for us to be more successful, we create an environment that allows us to have a gateway to be able to offload more calls that are going to create an environment that's faster, better, and cheaper for our customers, but also for our employees, and certainly for our company. It creates a winning environment where everybody wins.